Welcome back to America F1, and we are continuing on this break our Champions of Formula One series. And today we're going to talk about the king of controversy, one Fernando Alonso. Now, I thought I would just read from one of these books that I have. It's called Formula One The Champions, The Legendary Drivers of F1. Because when you talk about Fernando Alonso, and I got the privilege of meeting him in Suzuka at a paddock club. It was only 25, 30 people in there. Could have been a little bit more, could have been a little bit less. And got to sit and listen to Fernando talk about his career, talk about his drive. And he said, I'm going to race until the wheels fall off. And I'll tell you more about that story next. Here at
Yeah, America F1. America F1. It's a golden run. America F1.
So, Fernando Alonso. Fernando Alonso is from Spain. He has raced for, in 2001, the Minardi team, 2003 to 2006, the Renault team. In 2007, he raced for McLaren. 2008, 2009, back to Renault. And from 2010 to 2014 for Scuderia Ferrari. Then it was back to McLaren for 2015 to 2018. He took a break. He's tired of F1. Matter of fact, he had said that F1 was boring. And he went out and he won Le Mans. He tried, he wanted to do the fabled Triple Crown. So that's Indy, Le Mans, and of course, winning a Formula One championship. So in 2017, 2019, and 2020, he tried for the Indianapolis 500. And I remember one year, because I was watching, and one year he was ahead, he was leading, and his car broke down. He just never, I think 2 out of the 3 years his car broke down. One year he got crashed into. So he just never had luck with winning that Indy championship, but he did team up, I think, with Kama Kobayashi in the Toyota, and he won Le Mans in 2018 and 2019. Then he went back to Formula One with the Alpine team and then later went to Aston Martin, which is where he's at presently. As you know, Fernando Alonso has 2 championships in 2005 and 2006. He has 32 wins, 106 podiums, and 22 pole positions. Fernando Alonso's a towering talent was such that the Spaniard should have gained more than 2 world championships, which he won with Renault. Particularly during the 5 seasons he raced for Ferrari and garnered 3 second places. I know that one year he lost to, I think, Sebastian Vettel by 4 points and by 3 points, if I'm not mistaken. Fernando Alonso was, he was just a prodigal son. I mean, from day one, he was fast. I mean, he was obsessed with winning, and at the age of 24, had just become at that time, the youngest world champion of all time. But the official interview had to wait. And the reason why it had to wait is because he was on the phone with the King of Spain. And, you know, I'm taking that call, and everyone's waiting also from Spain. Such regal communication was not only a tribute to Alonso's achievement in only his fourth season in F1, it was also evidence of the explosion of national pride within his home country, Spain. Had never experienced neither an F1 world champion nor even a Grand Prix driver of note before. Alonso's rapid progress through the ranks had prompted the organizers of the Spanish Grand Prix to build an additional grandstand to cope with the huge amount of interest. His style had made him winning a world title seem a copper baton, certainly to his followers, rather than a brave off chance that needed their moral support. Alonso had felt much the same way in 2002 when he was invited into the Renault test team. After spending a season as a novice with the back of the grid minority outfit, Fernando had viewed racing for the compact little team as an opportunity to feel his way into the pressure free environment of the quiet end of the pit lane. It was a matter of learning the F1 ropes, since in his mind, the actual driving and racing was only a formality, as would be when your parents had placed you behind the wheel of a go kart at the age of 3. Fernando could recall very little about how blocks had been attached to his pedals or how he actually managed to drive that cart. All he remembered was loving the sensation of movement and speed that would take him through the ranks and capture the interest of Renault's team boss, Flavio Briatore. The year spent testing was not wasted. Alonso being fully prepared for his elevation to the race team in 2003, as demonstrated by pole position for a second race with Renault and a maiden win in Hungary 5 months later. It was only a matter of time before the partnership would string enough victories to match and then defeat the seemingly unstoppable force of Michael Schumacher and Ferrari. Having experienced it once, Renault and Alonso savored the taste of championship champagne for a second time in 2006. Renault had been growing as they took complete control of the former Benetton team. Alonso loved being part of the process and thrived on the warmth of a small, hungry family that placed him at the head of the table. It would, it would be significant in the light of how his working environment was about to change completely. A move to McLaren Mercedes for 2007 made sense on paper. The team's winning credentials were as impressive as their gleaming and beautiful headquarters. Alonso would be joined by Lewis Hamilton, a favorite member of the McLaren Young Driver program, maybe, but an F1 novice nonetheless. Alonso was startled from the outset when the Englishman firmly laid down a marker and showed no deference to the double world champion. The relationship soured when, in Alonso's view, McLaren's management made no attempt as the season went on to correct the perceived lack of respect. More than one championship opportunity would be lost, along with Fernando's potential. When he returned to Renault for 2 more years, nothing, even a team in sudden decline, could disguise the Spaniard's towering talent, and it was no surprise when he signed with Ferrari for 2010. Now let's do a couple of sides. What was that controversy back in the 2007 when he was racing against one Lewis Hamilton? Now, we all know about the pit stop, and there was supposed blackmail, and I'll just read from it. Fernando Alonso is not a man to avoid controversy, as demonstrated by the blocking of his teammate during qualifying for the 2007 Hungarian Grand Prix. Lewis Hamilton was meant to let Alonso pass on track, but decided not to. So he took matters into his own hands with unsubtle, time wasting behavior as the two stacked in the pits. Hamilton didn't get back out for a second qualifying lap, meaning Alonso took pole, but not for long. After a protest from Hamilton's team, Alonso was handed a 5 grid penalty. Alonso was not a happy man, and this led to perhaps the biggest controversy of his career. The next morning, a few hours before the race, Alonso demanded a meeting with team boss Ron Dennis to discuss the previous day's proceedings. Alonso threatened Dennis that if the team did not do what he wanted, he would reveal to the FIA emails he had that were relevant to the Spygate case. This is where chief designer Mike Coughlan was found in possession of a 780-page document of Ferrari's intellectual property. Alonso insisted that McLaren make Hamilton run out of fuel in the race. Dennis and his second in command at that time, Martin Whitmarsh, didn't like being blackmailed and phoned FIA President Max Mosley. It is believed that it was this phone call that led to McLaren being excluded from the Constructors' Championship and receiving a $100 million fine, and Alonso's negotiating his way out of a contract. Now, there's more to that, and that wasn't the only controversy. As you may know, the other controversy dealt with Flavio Briatore, because remember, he was the team principal. And regardless of what you think about Flavio, he is one of the great team principals of all time. Matter of fact, they have a ranking of the team principals, and he is number, this is all opinion, of course, but he's number 9, because you have Flavio Briatore, and this aside goes to, what was going on with Fernando at the time. Flavio Briatore was principal of Benetton from 1990 to 1997, from 2000 to 2001, and with Renault from 2002 to 2009. So when he won both of his titles, the team boss was Flavio. Flavio Briatore's name will forever be associated with the Crashgate scandal of 2008, when he was accused of telling Nelson Piquet to crash deliberately to help teammate Fernando Alonso win the race. Briatore was banned for life, but the ban was later overturned by a French tribunal. The flamboyant Italian was in charge when Benetton won the 1995 Constructors' title, and a decade later repeated the feat with Renault. He won a third title as team principal the following year, 2006. Briatore is an astute businessman with interests in nightclubs, restaurants, holiday resorts, politics, and of course, Queen's Park Rangers Football Club. He had a relationship with supermodels Naomi Campbell, Heidi Klum, and Elisabetta Griecha. I think that's how I pronounce it. I'm sorry if I butchered your name there. And he had children with the latter too. So that is what we know a little bit about Flavio. Now continuing, Fernando says, I love racing. I love to be behind the wheel every weekend. I know I could maybe have more trophies at home, or maybe I could have made better car choices. But at the time, I made the decisions I thought they were right. So I always follow my instincts, follow what makes me happy, and when you do that, you cannot regret. There's no denying Fernando Alonso's talent. I mean, if you've ever, we're going to do a review in our greatest races this week, actually, we're going to do it. The 2005 Japanese Grand Prix, which had some of the greatest passes in F1 history. And one of the greatest, definitely top 10 greatest F1 passes of all time is Fernando Alonso's pass of Michael Schumacher at Suzuka at 130R. around the outside. No one thought you could pass on the outside there before. And not only did Fernando Alonso do it with this superbly sounding V10.
Michael goes to the inside, tries to block the line in 130.
Oh my word!
And Alonso having none of it, straight around the outside.
180 miles an hour around the outside of the 130R corner. I've never seen anything like it. Enormous bravery by Alonso.
Oh, what I would give for Formula One to go back to V8 to V10s. Oh, Lord. Because this hybrid stuff got to go. Anyhow, that we're going to review that race in our greatest races. And that is one of the races where Alonso not only passed Schumacher at 130R that time, but he also had passed him another time because remember, this is the time of refueling. So you have to do pit stops and you have to refuel. And some cars would go out without enough fuel, so they have to come in. And it was also the time of the tire wars. So it was a very interesting time in Formula One. But if you go back and you listen, and you go back and watch that, if you have F1 TV, or if you can watch it on YouTube or on an archive some way, we're going to review that show, that race, and what a great race it was. That's a race that Fernando Alonso came from the back of the pack to get third, and Kimi Räikkönen came from 17th to win the race on the last lap when he passed Fisichella. Now back to talking about Fernando. This was a combination the F1 world had been waiting for, to see Alonso play his part in typical Ferrari fashion. Latin temperament and in-house power struggles managed to derail such massive promise, but notably in their first season when a fumbled strategy. We're talking about Ferrari, unfortunately. When we're talking about something that got away, or a fumbled strategy, or bad luck. When a fumbled strategy in the final race snatched defeat from certain victory, despite the Ferrari not being the fastest car. In 2014, Hamilton started to rattle off championships while Alonso's frustration had begun to ferment, and with his advancing years, the driver once adored by Renault and the media became touchy and short. Ferrari, encircled by this by the rapturous Italian media, which for years has run people out of town, that they probably like Benato, he should still be there in charge of, the car. Don't give him the promotion. Let him run the car, give him a raise, but they ran him out of town. Alonso, they ran Raikkonen out to get Alonso in the car. And what a great team that would have been, Raikkonen and Alonso back then. But I remember the race in Brazil where Seb had to finish, I think he had to finish as long as Alonso didn't win, and high was number, like if Alonso won, then Seb would have to be like third or fourth, and if Alonso got second, then Seb could be sixth. And it was wet, and Sebastian spun on the first lap. I mean, he spun on the first lap and still clawed his way back to sixth. But if Alonso would have won that race, he would have won the world title. No matter how justified when describing the management's inadequacies, the parting of ways was only a matter of time, but as it had become an increasingly sad hallmark of Fernando Alonso's career, he chose to make another wrong move and rejoin McLaren in 2015. This may have been a decent advert for the virtue of reapproachment, but it came to the start of the worst slump in McLaren's long history. Alonso would never get close to a single win, never mind a third championship that had seemed to elude him.
and I don't consider anymore Formula One like a sport.
Before. Despite the relentless attack and commitment on track, Alonso's departure from F1 at the end of 2018 without further royal calls from Madrid was the regrettable sign of a lost opportunity for such an outstanding talent.
As a campus, you know, from 250 people up to 800 now. So Honda is coming in 2026 with the new regulations only for us to market. And we have great partners, great sponsors, which obviously I think we are in the best hands possible. So yeah, it's not only when driving. My contract will keep on going when I stop driving, and I will try to help the team as much as I can, even outside the process.
No doubt we speak to all of us if we all to hear that. Final question, because your time is very limited. You've got about just over an hour and a half before quali. What's the plan now? Do you have time for a little rest?
Should have, but yeah, I have 2 or 3 ideas now that I forgot to speak with the engineer. They were just debating on the rear wing choice. 8.1, we have a very small rear wing. We were very fast on the straights. I think we slower the bonus. We changed that for qualifying to a bigger wing, to go a little bit slower on the straight, but gain that time on the bonus. And now we are in between those two into qualifying. So yeah, they were still analyzing all the data to the competitors and also our offline simulators. We have in Silverstone, as I said, maybe 500 people working flat out to give us the best information possible. And I want to have an answer, so before relaxing I need to have everything clear on my mind.
Okay, we better go and let you do that. Ladies and gentlemen, give a massive round of applause.